Hi, Neil Dix here to talk about the fallout from the Cape Town 47. Obviously not a good result there, particularly after getting such a great first innings lead. So the call is for that heads must roll, and we're going to discuss who they could or should be, and then more to the fact who could come in to replace those guys. So we'll start at the top of the order with the much maligned Phillip Hughes. As some of you probably know, I'm a big Phillip Hughes fan, and I don't really see the point in chopping and changing. If you're going to start a revolution, probably keep a 22-year-old. I think he's the young guy and the guy for the future. And he got 100 in the last test in Sri Lanka. Now, people are trashing that, saying it was in a relatively dead innings on a dead pitch. But I think compared to the other guys, he has to stay. I think he's been put under a bit of undue pressure due to Shane Watson falling at the other end. Shane Watson's actually gone first in 6 of 7 innings since the start of the Sri Lankan tour. So I think possibly the remedy there is for Watson, particularly with his bowling becoming more important to the side at the moment, to step down the order. Problem with that is that Watson's not a great player against spin, particularly starting off, but I think there is a position there, possibly at number 4 in a Callis-like role, that could just work. The replacement there, David Warner's banging down the door at the moment, but not actually in South Africa. So if Hughes or Ponting gets runs now, they could really then cash in against New Zealand to solidify their spot. Khawaja's the other guy, good first-class record, not as good as Hughes's, but yeah, probably deserves a gig there at the expense of who? Shaun Marsh, possibly with his injury at the moment. That moves us on to Ricky Ponting, and as much as it hurts me to say it, without a Test 50 in your last 12 innings and without 100 in your last 26 innings, I think the writing's on the wall. I think it should probably be done in this test, but he might be saved by Shaun Marsh's injury. Punter, as great as he is not producing at the moment, and I think he has to go. Next in line is Brad Haddin, and he's that disgusting shot in the second innings there, which has made calls for him to walk the plank. I think he was too good in the Ashes series last summer to write him off. I think that really that shot did show that his headspace is possibly a little bit out of whack at the moment, but I think that we have to persist with him. Tim Payne's injury might help him there, but I think if Matthew Wade does get more runs and Haddin has a poor test in Joburg, there could be calls there. The other change that I'm really asking for is Mitchell Johnson. Mitchell Johnson has not really done well. He's got 13 at 54 apiece in his last 6 tests. So that goes back to the whacker where he rolled through England's top order with 9 wickets for the match. So he is that match-winning character, but when he's not on song, as he hasn't been, I think we need more reliable bowlers, considering our batting really isn't stepping up at the moment, and I think there has to be calls for others. The question is who can replace him. At the moment, we have Harris, who's performing well, and Siddle, who's done a good job in recent times. So I'm calling for Trent Copeland to go in the short term. I think his first-class stats step up and are actually better than Mitchell Johnson's. And then in the meantime, James Pattinson does look to be the real deal. There are calls for Pat Cummins, but Pat Cummins hasn't done enough for me. When you've got a first-class average of 46, I think the new selection panel, hopefully with Andy Bickle, who I think was 12th man 17 times in Test matches, can see that you will get overlooked if you're pouring drinks rather than playing first-class cricket where people can jump the queue. Nathan Lyon's my other issue. You've got Stephen O'Keefe knocking on the door. Nathan Lyon has 26 first-class wickets at 45, and he did well in his test debut in Sri Lanka. Didn't get a bowl in the last test, not his fault at all. But I think Stephen O'Keefe, with a batting average of 35 in first-class and bowling average of 25, I think he has to be in there. He's got more wickets and more runs than Nathan Lyon. I think he should be in the side as well. What do you think? Should it be done now? Should it be done at the start of the New Zealand series? Matt Hayden is the man to reflect upon. Matt Hayden and Justin Langer were kings of having a reasonably ordinary series away, then coming back and just cashing in on whichever poor mob turned up, normally New Zealand. So there'll be guys praying they can get through this one test. The 2 test series might be in their favour, but I think Warner, Khawaja, Pattinson and Stephen O'Keefe should be next in line. Keeper-wise, I think Matthew Wade, with a first-class average of 40 in both forms, possibly goes in front of Tim Payne. I know Payne is Cricket Australia's love child, but I think Matthew Wade has the runs on the board there, and Haddin will be looking over his shoulder in that regard. That's what I reckon. I think that Justin Langer probably has to explain. The Argus report, I saw a great line today that the Argus report is just a document. And Tim Nielsen probably feels pretty good about that. But if Justin Langer is there as batting coach, I think he should be called to account. That's what I reckon. You can catch me on Twitter @Dixwar or on DixieDoesCricket.com. Cheers.